we talk about Rebbe, and that Rebbe requires Rishus Harabim Mekureh, and that it should be a cover Rishus Harabim in order to be chayev when it goes through the Rishus cover Rishus HaYachid. This is in order to be chayev when it sails through the Rishus HaYachid and doesn't land. Okay, that's what Rebbe said. Now, Milsa Rabbi Yochanan taken from Mamish on top of Samachem Rav. Milsa Rabbi Yochanan, the words of Rabbi Yochanan Amar to indicate to us, Afilu Eina Makura, even if it's not roofed over. Dom Rabbi Amishem Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Amisene Rabbi Yochanan. Now, this is not by us. This is not Halach and Shabbos. And this will be key in the Gemara later on. This is Halacha by Gittin. V'sheteri l'avir mechitzos. Halacha is if you want to give your wife a get, but you don't want to hand the woman anything, right? So you toss it between the walls of her courtyard. Okay? So there, l'chayra, once it goes into the walls of the courtyard, it's sufficient, even though the courtyard is not roofed over. Right? Shusayachid, yes. According to Rebbe, we said before, it's not enough that it goes to Shusayachid, it's got to be roofed over. And here Rabbi Yochanan says it's enough that it just goes into the airspace between the walls. Rava. Kinyan Chotzer. But that's what Gemara is going to discuss, whether there's a qualitative distinction between Shabbos and Gittin. Okay. Rabbi Ami boy kum Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Ami said Rabbi Yochanan masnis in the Rebbe. Our Mishnah. I'm sorry. Not our Mishnah. The Mishnah getting there could be going like Rebbe. The Rebbe Ovid Avir Mechitzas Kimamosha. Rebbe makes regards the walls of the airspace of the walls as if they are mamoshus. Now, that's not like Rebbe over here. Rebbe over here said Rishus HaYachid must be Mekureh. That was the bottom of Samach Daled base. Rabbi Yochanan, in his discussion with Rabbi Ami, says the Gemara, clearly does not hold that way. Because Rabbi Yochanan, in the saying name of Rebbe now, or interpreting Rebbe, that Avir Mechitzas Kimamoshan, even the airspace without the roof is considered ready to be in the airspace of Rishus HaYachid. So therefore, Rabbi Yochanan's analysis of Rebbe does not agree with our analysis of Rebbe over here. Says more no. Says Amar Le Divrei HaKoli. No, there, by Gittin, it can be going like everybody. But Rebbe might require by Shabbos, Rishus HaYachid, Mekureh. By Gittin, by not. So we asked, Rebbe Omer Mekureh, Bata Martein Mekureh. Hi, Rebbe said it has to be roofed over. You're saying it doesn't have to be roofed over. Ma by Gittin, Ma by Shabbos. So why by Gittin should you not require roofed over? Says the Gemara, Mamish Reb Chaim de Kechilot. This could have said in Brisk. Rabbi Ilah. It said, "B'Shabbos ksiv lo saseh kol melacha." It says, by Shabbos don't do any melacha. V'nasi simi eleh. Here, if it falls when it falls within the airspace, says Rebbe, that doesn't suffice, because what does it say? Don't do any melacha. What does do any melacha mean? Don't, in terms of don't do akira, and don't do hanacha. If it's in the airspace, is that considered munach? Excuse me. That might be considered munach, but it's not that you did the hanacha. You see that? Lo saseh. You need an asiyah. What's an asiyah of hanacha? What is it doing? An act of hanacha? Only when it gets to the ground, not in airspace. By Gittin, that's not required. By Gittin, the Torah says, "V'nasan biyoda." The yoda means, as Chazal expanded, b'Yershusa. In her domain. So therefore, by the way, Lieberman, he wanted to show that he was still Lamdan, I guess. But he explains this whole shtickle in great length, a very nice explanation. Basically, what I'm just telling you, essentially, that by Shabbos it says Lo Sasa Kol Melacha. Lo Sasa Kol Melacha means you got to do it. Doing it means not just against the airspace, even though you consider that to be the way Lieberman puts it. He says very beautiful mashal. He says, it's the principle which says that within the airspace of Shabbos, within the airspace of walls, it's considered to be as if it's on the ground. He says, listen, he calls a geder mishpati, a halachic principle, and he gives an example. He says, let's say that you build an eruv or house using principles of good asik. Now, without the good asik, it wouldn't be considered a binyan. Could that be considered bona on Shabbos? Right? Could that be considered bona? No. Says, of course not. Says, because Bona on Shabbos might be also the Rabbana, but it can't be also the Raisa because you can't build a house out of good asik and consider that to be Bona on Shabbos. In order to be Bona on Shabbos, you have to actually build a permanent, real structure, right? Do you see what he's saying? I see it not getting across properly.
He's talking about theoretical versus...
Right, a theoretical construct, right. So a theoretical construct can't be mechayiv you on Shabbos. If you built a house out of good asset, that's not considered to be boina. If you built... let's say, I'll give you a wild example. If something became Isra Noah on Shabbos, right? You made something Isra Banoah somehow. So are you chayiv because of Mavir, because of Kitute Mechta Shure? Since it's as if it's already burnt, as if you burnt it, and therefore you're chayiv because you burnt something on Shabbos? Of course not, right? Even though halachically we look at any Isra Noah as if it's burnt to a crisp. Of course, it's not that you actually burnt, and therefore you can't be chayiv for sreifa on Shabbos, for burning something for mavir, for burning on Shabbos. In order to be chayiv on Shabbos, you have to actually do a malacha, not have the theoretical construct that achieve the malacha for you. So therefore, kluta kamishun chadamya is fine when it comes that which is within the walls, if it's on the ground. That's fine when we come to gittin, because by gittin, we're talking with kinyanim. The whole concept of a kinyan is a theoretical construct, right? The whole concept of ownership is a theoretical construct. It's not a tangible. So therefore, by gittin, we employ the theoretical construct of kluta mishun chadamya in order to say that the kinyan has been accomplished. By Shabbos, there are no theoretical constructs. Shabbos tangible malacha lo saseh. Not don't accomplish a lamdisha malacha. Don't do a malacha. So that means you have to make mamish akir and mamish anacha.
But you threw it in. You with your hand threw it into the.
That's why when it lands on the ground, then it's munaf. Or it's in 3 tvachim on the ground, because love is also considered the ground. But not when it's above 3 tvachim. Then we don't say kluta kamishon chadamya. That's what he wants to tell you. So nice for. It's not. That's how he explains Yerushalmi. It sounds very beautiful. It sounds perhaps more beautiful than it actually is, because as you almost pointed out just now, but we do use the theoretical construct of love to say that kimunach dami, right? Because within 3 tvachim the ground, as if it's on the ground, right? So there are theoretical constructs which we do use in malacha. But that's all right. One could draw a distinction. One could say love it to the ground is because anything within 3 tvachim of the ground is considered to be on the ground. Suppose when it's midair, there it's more of a theoretical construct or something like that.
So before we get into the space, and it's more than 3 tvachim, and then the wind blows it out. So
it won't be. No, it is a good get. It is a good get. Right, exactly. It is a good get. But by Shabbos, he'd be potter, right? That's exactly the point. Okay? You don't like lumdus.
No, it's not. Yeah. It's not that. I think it's unnecessary. Because it's not beyond of your shoes. It's not beyond chutzers mitam.
Yeah.
And therefore, when it goes into a chutzer, it's simply the halachic principles where the theoretical or actual doesn't make a difference. They cause it for her.
Who's they? This has to be the Raisa.
No, it's not biyado.
Yeah.
So it means yad. But chutzer is mitam yad. So
okay.
If it's in her chutzer, it's in her yad. Simply put. So therefore, that's how you're satisfied by that. But by Shabbos, the Isra is it's always melachas machshavos. You have to intend and also do an action. You have to be the one to do it. So.
You're using half of what he said, not the other half.
Not the other half.
Yeah, you're using the half by Shabbos, not the half by Gittin.
It's not necessary.
Right, by Gittin you're saying just that there's a special, there's a custom that there's an extension of your yad, which is your chutzner, which by Shabbos we don't have. That's right. Oh, that's possible. Okay, I'll accept that. Okay. Shmuel Amar Lo Shonu El Lamata Me'asara. Now, Lamais, says Shmuel, that we say Kluta K'mishun Chadamya. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. That's which we say that you're chayav on Hoshata, on Moshit. Remember, Moshit is for like they did in the midbar from one wagon to another wagon. So it's from one balcony to another balcony on the same side of Rishus HaRabim, right? So Shmuel says it's only Lamata Me'asara. It's only below 10 Tvachim. Holamala Me'asara Asur, but above 10 Tvachim it's Asur. Now Asur means the Rabbana, not the Raisa. Yeah, also means the Rabban and not the Raisa. Milsid Rabbi Lezer, Mar Bil to Rabbi Lezer. However, I feel Malami Asara, even above 10 Tvachim, it should be Plige instead of Mutter. There's a machlokas that Rabbi Akiva and Chachamim have in our Mishnah whether you're chayav by Moshe or not. The same machlokas apply even above 10 tvachim. Dam Rabbi Lezer b'shem Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer said name Rabbi Lezer, which is the real reason for Rabbi Lezer's statement. Ma'agolas lomar Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva learned this halacha from the wagons. Va'agolas lomar me'asari inun. Weren't the wagons above 10 tvachim in the midbar? We learn out from the wagons that the Levim extended beam to beam in the wagons in the midbar, and that was above 10 tvachim. So that's why Rabbi Akiva holds that even above 10 tvachim there's halacha Moshe, not like Shmuel. So says Gemara, Tani, there's some Tanoim who learned in the next Mishnah the word Ketzad. Some Lo Tani Ketzad. Look at the next Mishnah for a minute on the base. It says Ketzad Shnei Gzuz Tro Zuk Neged Zu B'Shus Rabim. You have two balconies, one behind the other in Rishus Rabim. So one across the street from the other from Rishus Rabim. So then, if you extend from one to the other, you're potter. If they're both on the same side of Rishus Rabim, and you extend from one to the other, then you're chayev. Okay? Do you understand the case? Yeah. Okay. Now, so says the Gemara. There's sometimes in the Mishnah is written for us where there's the word Ketzad. There's sometimes no, we don't have the word Ketzad. Al Daited Rabbi Lezer Iskan Ketzad. According to Rabbi Lezer, we do say Ketzad. Why? Because these balconies are above 10 tefachim. Right? Since they're above 10 tefachim, so we say Ketzad. Why? Because this is the halacha Moshe. This is the halacha Moshe. We learn from Nagolos. The even above 10 tefachim are chayev. Right? So therefore, the next Mishnah, which is talking about above 10 tefachim, is an extension of the previous Mishnah, and that's why it says Ketzad. It's an explanation. How does the first Mishnah work? The way it's described in the second Mishnah. Al Daiti the Shmuel, according to Shmuel, who doesn't learn from Agolos, Leis Le Ketzad. Obviously, you can't learn out from the first Mishnah. This can't be Moshe. If it is anything, it's something else. But certainly not the principle of Moshe, because it's above 10 tefachim. And Shmuel said there ain't no Moshe above 10 tefachim. Whatever the next Mishnah is, it ain't no extension of the previous Mishnah, which is talking about Moshe. Okay, so it wouldn't say Ketzad because it wouldn't be an expansion thereof. Okay? Rabbi Yitzhak, Rabbi Elazar Shal. He asked like this: Zark mi Rishus HaYachid Rishus HaRabim. You threw from Rishus HaYachid into Rishus HaRabim. V'nizkar Chu Rishus HaRabim. You remembered went to Rishus HaRabim, but before it landed. Went in midair, remembered. Oy just was Michal Shabbos. So what's the story? Al Daiti the Rabbi Akiva, according to Rabbi Akiva, Yaseh Kimi Shenocha B'Rishus HaRabim V'yeh Chayav, and the word Stein, the carbonator, takes out. According to Rabbi Akiva, he should be Chayav. Why is that? Because Rabbi Akiva is Mechayav you even above 10 tefachim, right? So it must be. Let's just make sure that's right. They said they had not been present when Rabbi gave a shiur on the last paragraph of the book. They wanted to find out what Rabbi said. So you should be chayev even though it's above 10 tefachim. I think that's it. It doesn't say it's above 10 tefachim. And the period of Ma'aseh Beinu, which is the last period in the Chol. So I think it's still the case. I'm pretty sure that's the case. If I recall correctly. I think that is it. Just let me check what Moshe says here. No, you're right. It's not. You're right. It's talking about the shadows like this. Remember, it's in the airspace of Rishus HaRabim. So Rabbi Akiva, it's too late. It's below 10 tefachim. It's specifically below 10 tefachim. You threw it to Rishus HaYachid. You threw Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim. Now it's below 10 tefachim, which means it's in 10 tefachim in the ground, and that's in the airspace of Rishus HaRabim. So when Rabbi Akiva, tough luck, you're chayav chatas anyway. Why are you chayav chatas? Even though it didn't land, because because he holds that once it's on its way down, it's as if it landed already. Okay? That's going to Rabbi Akiva. This is me. Rabbi Akiva is only mechayev if it went from one Rishus HaYachid through Rosh Hashanah into another Rosh Hashanah. But he did not say Kluta Mishun Chadami in Rosh Hashanah. And the reason for that, why would you not say Kluta Mishun Chadami in Rosh Hashanah? Obviously, why not? Because what does Kluta mean? Kluta. What's a Merkaz Klita?
Concentration.
No, not concentration. Concentration. It's a Machneri Kuz. No. Absorption center. Absorption center. Didn't they teach you about a Merkaz Klita in the Upa? I live in a Merkaz Klita for you. I know what they are. So you go. So what does absorb mean? What takes in?
The object.
The walls. You can't have absorption in Rishus HaRabim because there are no walls. Kluta. It's got to be kalut. It's got to be absorbed. This is Rishus HaRabim. There ain't no way for this to get absorbed over here. Get absorbed in the middle of the walls. Okay? That's the saying, Rabbi Akiva, he said, Klutak Mishun Chadami meant goes from Rishus HaYachid through Rishus HaRabim into another Rishus HaYachid. There's no Kluta in Rishus HaRabim. Okay? Makes sense, right? I just made that up, but it sounds good.
Except there are walls that separate. I was wondering, you were assuming that Kluta means walls.
Yes, what else could it mean?
Rishus.
No. That's what the Rabbi, that's what Rav Huna is saying. I grant you it's possible to say differently, but Rav Huna is saying, Rav Huna, he means because there's no kluta unless there's Rishus HaYachid.
Except if you have Rishus HaRabim separated by two Rishuyos of Yachid, you're going to have walls on either side, but the Rishus HaRabim.
That's still not walls, because they're not halachic walls. Otherwise, it wouldn't be Rishus HaRabim by definition. But it doesn't do any good. Okay? Right. That's why I got confused, because this is the next case. You stand Rishus HaRabim and you throw above 10 tvachim. So Roim, we look at it. Shim Tipo, then remembers. Roim Shim Tipo, when he remembers, it's in a spot that if it would fall, it would fall within 4 amas of the spot where it began, which means it didn't traverse enough distance yet. Potter. If not, however, if it's in the airspace already, even though it's above 10 tvachim, it's not the airspace of Rishus HaRabim, but it's more than 4 amas away, so you're chayiv. Why? Because were it to fall then, or gravity to pull it down, so then it would be already 4 amos, so therefore you're chayiv. Okay? Vatani Shmuel, didn't Shmuel teach us Mirshus HaRabim l'Rishus HaRabim, when you're throwing from one Rishus HaRabim into another Rishus HaRabim, Rishus HaYachid b'emtza Rishus HaYachid in the middle between the two. Roim Shim Tipo Nacha B'soch Adalad Amos Potter. We look at if it would fall within those 4 amos, you're exempt. B'imlav, and if not, chayav. If not, you're chayav. So I forgot what the significance of this is. Just a second. Yeah. What it means is like this: if you're going from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaYachid, and if you're going from, we just say if you're going from Rishus HaRabim, and your trajectory went over 10 tvachim. We always look at where it would land on the ground. How can you say this? Where Shmuel said, although it's not clear in the Gemara, the way the Korban Eidah explains it, you have here Mr. Zuger. You have here Rishus HaRabim. Then in the middle you have a Rishus HaYachid. Then you have another Rishus HaRabim. Then you threw a ball. The ball must go 4 amos in the trajectory before it hits the Rishus HaYachid.
What's the third of
airspace. You can't join, even though the start Rishus HaRabim ends Rishus HaRabim, you can't join the Rishus HaRabim before with the Rishus HaRabim after the Rishus HaYachid in the middle. It doesn't work. You can't join the two. So ask the Gemara, if over there you can't join the two, how over here do you say that even right now, even though it's in a Malkum tour, it's as if it's on the ground? You can't join, just like you can't join the Rosh Hashanah on the other side, with the Rosh Hashanah on this side, because there's a neutral zone in the middle, right, which is Rosh Hashanah. So to here, at the height of its trajectory, when you remembered, it's outside of Rosh Hashanah. It's in a neutral zone. It's a Mokum Torah, because above that fall is a Mokum Torah. So I can be Mechayev him when it falls back down to the ground, right? Even if it fell down to the ground, since there was a Mokum Torah interruption in the middle, too bad, right? So that's Gemara's question, okay? Says what Tama, no, that's different. Tama Amar Atamar in Rosh Hashanah it's the refes. There you have an interruption of Rosh Hashanah on the ground. Because what's on the ground in between the two Rosh Hashanah? Rosh Hashanah. So therefore the meters got to start ticking 4 amos over again once you get to the other side of Rosh Hashanah. You can't join that which is on one side of Rosh Hashanah to the other side which is Rosh Hashanah. You can't join that with that which is on the one side of Rosh Hashanah with that which is on the other side of Rosh Hashanah, because it's broken up by the Rosh Hashanah in the middle. But here, the entire trajectory was over Rosh Hashanah. The Rosh Hashanah was not broken up. It's just a question of did it traverse a far enough distance over that Rosh Hashanah. And the force of gravity indicates to us, that even though it's in the air, the fact that it will fall means that we don't care that right now it's in a Mokum Torah. Okay? So it's a very basic difference. This again, the difference is on the ground, the Rosh Hashanah on the ground breaks it up. But in the air, the Rosh Hashanah is continuous. Hi! The ball now is above the airspace of Rosh Hashanah. So what? Since it's all that which comes up goes up, must come down. So therefore, eventually going to fall, and therefore it's considered all to be the status of the Rosh Hashanah below it on the ground. The only way the Mokum Torah be taken into account is if it would actually land on something above the 10 tefachim. Okay? Says Gemara.
Continues straight up, so we say Rosh Hashanah continues straight up.
If 7 lands above 10 tefachim, yeah, similar idea. Yes. Okay. Says Rav Chuna. Rav Chuna. Tamon shim tipo karka shetachtei Rosh Hashanah. I'm not sure exactly the difference between what Rav Chuna is saying and what we said before. But he says over there, where if it would fall in the middle, the land underneath the Rosh Hashanah. But here, in our case, anywhere it falls, so there must be some difference between the previous answer and this answer. That the previous answer spoke about Itztarfus and the interruption, and this answer speaks about the status on the ground. But essentially, they seem they're very similar to me, and I'm absolutely too lazy to figure out what exactly the difference between the two is. Time share Rav Yehuda. We learned today Rav Yehuda. Zarek dal ram shusarayim mechayev. If you throw something for ram shusarayim, you're mechayev. Right, it seems obvious, right? It says Rav Yehuda avadar am shusarabim. This is the chiddush. Rav Yehuda says arba shusarabim is melacha bifnei atzma. It's a 40th melacha. If it's a 40th melacha, adai Rav Yehuda mem melacha. Why does it say only 39? It should be 40. V'nisnin, and let's mention this 40th melacha of zrika, or of throwing 4 amos. Says more la sina misnai nilin ela milin decha ama moediban. The Mishnah which enumerate the malachas only enumerate the malachas which are universally accepted. Rabbi Zir, Rabbi Yeshim, Rabbi Yochad said, how does Rabbi know there's such an additional malacha called Zrika Dal Ramos? V'tayfi Ariel Slomad Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda learned from the people who used to weave the curtains in the Mishkan. Shayu Tofei Ariel, so the people who used to weave the curtains were Mizarkines Machatin El. They would toss their sewing needles to each other, and that was more than 4 amos, and therefore that was a malacha. Says the Gemara, I don't stand below Karmeli Soyar. Now the Gemara, the way in the Suda visually is that the throwing is like you throw the shuttle in the loom, and it's between the strands of thread. So between the strands of thread, you ain't throwing Rosh Hashanah, you're throwing in a Karmelis at best, right? So how can you say it's a malacha d'oraisa? Right, between the strands only the Rabbanan, not the Raisa at best. So it says the Gemara, I'm Rabbi China bin Atzari Mizarki. No, they didn't toss through the curtains they were weaving, but rather around them, and they tossed through Rosh Hashanah, and that's how he learns out the malacha of carrying 4 amos Rosh Hashanah. Okay, next Mishnah. Ketzad. How do we say that the malacha of Moshid occurs? Again, if you have the gears of Ketzad, then you know that it's coming to explain this Mishnah, this is all subsumed under Moshid, extending. How so? You have two balconies, one opposite the other in Rishus Harabim. Hamoishid v'azoyek mizulazu potter. Somebody extends or throws something from one to the other. He's exempt because they're not on the same side of the street. They're both on the same side of the street. Hamoishid chayav. Somebody who extends is chayav, right? Because that's like they did in the midbar. V'azori potter, somebody throws is potter. Shkachai sava to sleep. That's how the Levim will work in the desert. There would be two wagons, one beyond the other. B'shus harabim. Moshitin esak choshim izulazu. They would extend the beams from one to the other. Avolo zarki, but they would not throw the beams. Right? Chuyas habor v'asela. If you have the cavity. Chuya is the cavity. The cavity of the bore, and the sela, and a rock around the rim. Shein gavoyin asor chavin arba. That all together they're 10 tefachim high. Right from the base of the pit to the height of its rim. You take into account the whole cavity, right? So that makes 10 tefachim. That's 10 tefachim. Urchavin arba, and they're 4 by 4 tefachim wide. Hanoit means somebody who takes from them. Hanoit puts on them, right? Chayav. Both because it's less than those dimensions, potter, you're exempt. Okay. Rav Amar leiskam potter ela mutter. Now Rav said a very fundamental thing. He said when it says here potter, it means mutter. When it says potter in our Mishnah, Hamoshe v'azorek mizulazu potter, he meant this. It means really mutter. Okay. If you have two balconies, one each side of Rishus Harabim, you can play catch over Shabbos. Okay. Mutter can't play catch on Shabbos, right? Even without an Eruv.
It's only the balconies that are more than 2.
They'll go off the ground, right? Okay, says Gemara. Al daiti the Rav l'mal me'asor l'muter. According to Rav above that Tefachim it's muter. Al daiti the Shmuel l'mal me'asor also. According to Shmuel it's an Issa d'Rabbanan. Right, we learned that before. Shmuel said it's d'Rabbanan. There's a Shita, Rabbi Akiva, in the first mission. It's even Issa d'Oraisa above 10 Tefachim because our goals are above 10 Tefachim. But according to Shmuel, it's even at least Issa d'Rabbanan. And now, Rabbi Ela b'Shem Rishim Lakish said, when do you have Issa Moshe Vusha Tehei Rishus Harabim Makfaso Mikolsa? Now, I'm not sure what he does with the Mishnah, but he says the balcony is got to be surrounded by Rishus Harabim on all sides. I don't know how you can figure that scenario because the balcony seems to be coming in off a house. But he says it's got to be surrounded by Rishus Harabim on all sides. So actually what it is really two pillars in Rishus Harabim, like two lookout towers, one next to each other. So it says the Gemara, how does he know that? So now, if you look a line below this, you see the 3 words mean Elaine Agolos. You see those? From those wagons, you see that in the next line, those 3 words? Put them here. 2 or 3 words. Mean Elaine Argolos. Okay? I realize that you have to move things around by looking at all the Mefarshim here, who all move things around, but this is really my proposal. No, things are out of order here. Something's wrong. Things are right. But this specific order, which I'm telling you, is my specific order. So that's the great thing about Yerushalmi. He probably never get to tamper with the Gemara. Yerushalmi, now that I get to do it once, I get to do it twice tonight. Okay, as you will see later. Says Rabbi Yaakov Barachov B'Shem Rabbi Yechanan says, I feel now. Okay, so that's Rabbi Shimon Lakish because he learns out from Nagos. Rabbi Yaakov Barachov B'Shem Rabbi Yechanan said, I feel me ruach achas. As long as you have Rishus Harabim on one side, you still Chai Moshe. Of course, you need Rishus Harabim on one side, because otherwise it'd be no Malacha. Because Malacha is to pass from one Rishus Hayochid over Rishus Harabim to the other Rishus Hayochid, right? So you need to have Rishus Harabim at least one side, but not on the other sides. You learned that. What about the wagons? Talk of the wagons were islands of Rishus Hayochid surrounded by Rishus Harabim. So Rabbi Shimon Lakish is correct. Doesn't want to know. What's Rabbi Yechanan say about Golos? Lavlo Malam Yasar Inun. Or weren't the wagons above 10 Tefachim? Okay? What does it mean? Weren't the wagons above 10 Tefachim? It means that above 10 Tefachim, there's no such thing as being surrounded by Rishus Harabim. Why above 10 Tefachim is no such thing as being surrounded by Rishus Harabim? Right, because there is no Rishus Harabim above 10 Tefachim. So he says, you're all right, Rabbi Shimon Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yechanan says, Reish Lakish, you're all right, it's from the wagons, right? That the wagons were surrounded by Rishus Harabim. What were the wagons surrounded by? Malcolm Tour, right? So that's what he's saying. Since the wagons are what? Why not according to Rav?
Because he said that's what I ran by you before. He says everything is a Rishus Harab because Rishus Harab, like a Rishus Yachid, continues straight up except for land. So it's not surrender.
Ooh, I guess I have to disagree with you. Because Rav said, I take back my agreement with you from before. No, but it's not just because I like my shot here. That might have been enough of a reason, but that's not why. No, look at the first line of the Gemara. Rav Amar Leiskan Potter Lamuter. Al Daiti Rav Lamal Miasora Muter. According to Rav, the Malach Moshe doesn't apply above 10 tefachim.
It corresponds to all the mitzvahs.
Even if you're Zorek. Even if you toss from balcony to balcony, there's no Itzer Moshe.
So therefore he equates.
You might be able to kvetch out of it, but you're going to have to kvetch. Okay? So it sounds like it's above 10 tefachim. It's considered to be a Malkum Torah even going to Rav. Okay? I know you can kvetch out of it, but like I said, I think it's easier the way I'm saying it. So, but even, so says Gemara, so there's no Rishus Harabim there. So therefore, says Rabbi Yochanan, you don't need to have any more than one side Rishus Harabim, and of course on that side you need Rishus Harabim because otherwise the Malacha doesn't exist, right? Because you have to pass from a Rishus Yachid in the airspace above 10 tefachim, which is above Rishus Harabim, which he would argue is a Rishus Harabim, right? But in any event, above that airspace to the next Rishus Yachid on the other side. Okay. Rabbi Yachabar b'shem Rabbi Masha said a very interesting thing. Said says you need to, in order to be Chayav Moshe, it takes two to tango. Why is that? Because how many Levim did it take to carry a beam? Two. One to pass it to the other one. So it says more very interesting thing, a simple observation, but an interesting one. All over Teire, you said if two people did a malacha, they're potter. Yet here is saying that two people did it together a chayav. What? You know, that's interesting because I think not, because Levim with Babli says are very strong. So each one was Zay Yochav, because otherwise the Yerushalmi should have answered Zay Yochav, but it doesn't answer that. So it says the Gemara, here it's different, because that was the way the Levim worked. If you have two wagons, one behind the other, they had two wagons, one behind the other, standing in a public domain. They would extend their beings from one to the other in line in order to line them up. Of course, they wouldn't throw them. Why not? Because it's a bizayon to throw the beams. Okay? I'm Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said, "Ha'omed v'achalol nitztarfim barbo." An omed and chalol joined together for to make 4 tefachim. Now this sounds kind of cryptic. What in the Bible this is called omed and parutz. In other words, in order to make 4 tefachim, how much do you have to have of really omed? 4 by 4. In order to make 4 by 4, how much you really have to have? 2.1 by 2.1. Right? Can have airspace the rest of it, right? 2.1 by 2.1, because Oimed Merubah Parutz is sufficient, right? The Bavli said even Oimed Kipparutz is sufficient, even if it's 2 and 2, but here it's Yerushalmi seems to be saying at least here that you need Oimed Merubah Parutz. Okay? Vushaya Oimed, because as it says, Vushaya Oimed Rabba L'Chalal. It's got to be more standing structure than there is open space. Rabbi Zir asked, does it have to be, depict this in your mind's eye? 1.5 and 1.5 and 1. 1.5 structure, and 1 tefach open in the middle. That's Omer Parutz, right? It's 3 against 1, right? Is that the way it has to look? They need to have on both sides of the parutz omed, more omed. In other words, the omed on each side there is itself greater than the parutz. Is that the way it has to be? That's his question. Says more. Rabbi Yisrael said, "Pshita Rabbi Zir she'en omed mitzad echad mitzdarif." Mitzaref, says Lieberman, means here like Mahani. In other words, if it's just, say, on one side, 2, and the other side, 0.5. And in the middle you have an opening of 1.5. Rabbi Zira says for sure that's no good. You have Oimei Merubah, but there on one side the Oimei is smaller than the Parutz, right? Because the Oimei is only 0.5 and the Parutz is 1. That's for sure no good, right? Pshitole, not only that, he holds even that. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. That's the next thing. Pshitole means that if it's not merubah, if it's 2 and 2, right? If it's parts omed, it's no good for sure, right? That's pashut. Not only that, it's also pashut, like I just told you, she'ein omed mitzad echad rabba. That if you have omed, no, I was wrong again. The 3 cases are like this. Sorry. The 3 cases are, it's pashut that 2 and 2 omed and 2 parts is no good. It's even pashut him that if you have 1.
If it's, you can't have 2 and 2 because you need 2 sides of omei, and in the middle you need parts.
Okay, it's pashut that divide. Let's make it easier. Not a case of 4. Let's make it divide in 3. If you have 6, right, and you have 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, that's no good. Okay, that's oimei kipparus. Okay. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. It's not good because I make kipparus. Now, pshitole she'eino mitzad echad rabba, and it's also pashut for him that if you have oimei merubah parutz on one side, that's not good.
Poor people will come to his house. Right. Kind of poor people, bad poor people.
We have diagrams like this in the Yerushalmi.
Yeah.
Sorry,
let me just make sure.
Will come to his house.
The Roman government just constantly cries out that it is indeed the funds.
It's like
come and
American
confiscate that money.
American
Will come and confiscate that money, which could have been given as charity, so that its owner will derive no benefit from it.
1 second.
What does it mean,
Lazach, if he did not merit to use his money.
First case is
not merit good fortune.
He did not merit good fortune to
bigger
use his money for
than
tzedakah.
each side of the.
No, that's pashut. It's no good.
If a person gives tzedakah
How do you want to learn?
money, he will merit that if he had to lose his
larger
money.
than each side
The money
of
will go
the
for
omei,
tzedakah.
but the omei, the 2 sides of
If
the
a
omei
person
together.
does not merit, in other words, he doesn't
See,
give
Lieberman says
money,
that's the
he doesn't
last
give
case.
fortune. In other words, he
Well,
doesn't give money
I know.
tzedakah.
I'm trying to learn it like Lieberman because Carbonate has to change the girsa. And Lieberman tries to get away with it without changing the girsa. Carbonate changes the girsa in the second case.
You end up getting money, I don't know.
Lozach, if he doesn't have money.
See, he changes the last line. Pshitole she'hei omen mitzad echad merubah. Instead of pshitole she'ein, he changes it to she'hei.
Lozach means you use your money for the right. You don't give money to
Let's try
tzedakah.
drawing it.
Your money will go to not good.
Let's try it like this.
Pshitole
Rabbi Zir, let's do it again. Pshitole Rabbi Zir she'ein omen mitzad echad mitzaref. Omen from one side is not sufficient. Meaning, well, let's try it the way I did it before. Let's say that you have here 2.
You did good in Ruchni, so you're Zocha, right?
And here you have 1.9.
Mazel Tov is coming to you.
And here you have just something at the corner,
So therefore
right?
you have Mazel Tov coming to you.
So he says that's no good.
How is that Mazel Tov?
Why?
How is that good for?
Because in this case you have oimed
that your money
mitzad echad.
it will go to tzedakah for good purpose.
I should have tried 2 and 2. In this case it's 2 and 2 and that's no good. Because that's oimed kipparus.
You give a word.
Okay? Even though Bavli says this is good. The Bible says 2 and 2 is good. The Yerushalmi holds well, that's it. That's my 4. Okay, so this is no good according to the Yerushalmi. You need to have 1, 1, 1, and 1 is no good. Okay, so this is also 4, and it's oimed kipparus. That's the first thing. Pshitole is she'ein oimed tzad echad mitzaref. Oimed tzad echad which is equivalent, is not good. And it's even poshetim. Let's say you did on this side 2.5, and over here you had 1.5. That's also no good. Mrs. Urakusi?
Yeah.
This is also no good, right? Because here it's mitzad echad. His shaila is when it's mitut stadim, right? Here, let's say you have 1.75 in the middle, and here you have on each side you have here 1.25 and 1. No, that won't be enough.
3 total. Oh, that's not enough.
No, it's 1.375, I think. What's an eighth? 325. 1.325 and 1.325. I think that should work. Is that not correct?
Yeah, so 1 3/8 is 1 is 2 6/8, 2 3/4, and you have 1 1/4 on the inside. And 1 1/4?
No, I have 1 3/4. What is it?
Oh, whatever, we get that.
We're so bad at math, it's so embarrassing. 4 minus 1.75 is 2.25.
Getting embarrassed at one time.
Well, I'm still embarrassed. It's 1.125 and 1.125. Okay, so that should be enough, right? Because together it's over 2, right? It's 2.5. It should overcome the 1.75. But his shaila is, the Rabbi Zir's shaila is, maybe this is not sufficient. Maybe you need to have oimim ruba on each side in order for it to work. So it's here, each oimid by itself is not is less than the paruts. Maybe I need oimid on each side in order for it to be valid. That's a shaila. Okay, so again, the first thing he said, it's pashut that 2 and 2 is no good. It's even pashut that 2.5 on one side and 1.5 on the other side, and 1.5 open are no good. Need oimim b'shteit stadim. The shaila is not oimim b'shteit stadim is sufficient that together they overcome the parts in the middle, or you need to have on each one of these oimim that it should be more than the parts in the middle. Let's see that inside again. 2 and 2 is not good. Even if you have 2.5 and 1.5, that's not good. Lo tzurcha da ella. His shaila is only afilu omed hasheni. If you have omed on the other side, right? You have 2 omdim. The shaila is whether each one of these omdim has to be bigger than the middle, or can the sum total thereof equal bigger than the middle, and that's sufficient. Okay? Says more further. Now the Professor Lieberman says on the next Gemara that this is one of the most difficult Gemaras in all of the Yerushalmi. But it's not. Once you fix up the girsa, it's easy. Which he does for us. By the way, the Mashbiach is very spotty in Shabbos. It only crops up. I guess think at the end of Masechta he crops up more, but in these blinds, just every, it wasn't nowhere as near as comprehensive as Roim, or almost every hard sugi he tackles. You have the cavity of the bore.
Nobody's going to give him back.
And the stone on top of the rim. If they're 10 tvachim high, and they're 4 tvachim wide, so that's okay. However, the end of the Mishnah said, Pachos mikam potter. If it's less than that, you're potter.
So he doesn't believe in Hashem.
Manan kayamin asks Yerushalmi. Asks Yerushalmi, what are you talking about? Im bigvoin. Now, here's where Lieberman comes in. Take out the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words. Okay, take out those 8 words. So it should be im bigvoin, and he has a ksav yad which proves it. Im bigvoin asora. If it's 10 tvachim high, I skipped the first asora. I skipped to the next place where it said asora. Okay, it's a mistake. Im bigvoin asora ve'ein rechavin arba. If they're 10 tvachim high and not 4 tvachim wide, which is that the alternate case in the Mishnah, and that the Mishnah is saying potter because it's not a bona fide with shusa yachi, but rather what is it? If you have a board which is 10 tvachim high but not 4 by 4 tvachim, what is that really? Welcome to it. So if that's the case, and that's the case the Mishnah is talking about, isn't that the same thing which Rav Chisda wrote b'shem Isi, in the name of Isi? Kona notes Rishus Rav, you have a stick in Rishus Rabim, Gavah Saratva, which is 10 tvachim high, but not 4 by 4 tvachim wide because it's a stick. Mutar lekan. it's permissible for both the Rishus Rabbi to make use of that stick and for Rishus Yachid to make use of that stick. Ulevad, there's only Gzeir Rabban Shlo Yachid, so you shouldn't take something from Rishus Yachid, put it on that Mokum Tor, and then take it into Rishus Rabbi. He don't be the right that loophole does exist. Rabbanon close that loophole. But in any event, the problem is like this: Rav Chisda was a what? He was an Amoira. And if our Mishnah is talking about a Mokum Tur and saying a Mokum Tur, Pachas Mikan is a Mokum Tur, then Rav Chisda telling us that a Kana is a Mokum Tur. He's telling us what the Mishnah is telling us. It's totally redundant and superfluous then. So there must be Rav Chisda and the Mishnah are saying two different things.
Somebody gets a traffic ticket.
So what's talking about? What's the Mishnah talking about? Ela Kenanu Kayami. Our Mishnah is talking about a case. They're not 4 tefachim wide. They're not 4 tefachim wide. Nor are they 10 tefachim high. Yeah, the Mitzvah where they're not 4 tefachim wide, nor are they 10 tefachim high. So the Gemara doesn't like that either, though it's not explicit here. That the way Lieberman interprets it, he says,
If not, the Goyim are going to come and they're going to take it forcefully. Nevertheless, even if they take it forcefully, it's considered stalker.
Forget about that, Lieberman. I'm not going to use it. Let's scratch. It'll go better without it. So it says, what are we talking about over here? It must be, in a way that it shouldn't be the same case of Rav Chisda. It's talking about a case where it's not 4x4, nor is it 10 tefachim high. But Rav Chisda is talking about a case where it's 10 tefachim high. Our Mishnah is talking about where it's less than 4x4 and less than 10. Wait a minute. Didn't Rabbi Chia braid the Rab say, "Kom akiv drisa b'rishus Rabbi nikor karmelis." In other words, if that's what it is, it's good. That's what it is. If it's less than 4x4 and less than 10, so what is it? It's a stump. It's an impediment in the Rishus Rabbi. If it's an impediment in Rishus Rabbi, what's the status of impediment in Rishus Rabbi? It's a karmelis. That's what we just said. Anything which is an impediment to walking smoothly with Rishus Rabbi, it's called a karmelis. If it's called a karmelis, so how can you say it's mutter to carry from the Rishus Rabbi to the karmelis? Rab said way back at the beginning of our Gemara, Leis kan potter ela mutter. They're allowed to carry from the Rishus Rabbi into the Pachas Mikan, right? Into the thing which is less than the proper shiur. I'm not Rav. I'm sorry. Rabbi Yochanan says immediately. That was Rav about the motion. Rabbi Yochanan's going to say in a moment that you're allowed to carry from the Rishus Rabbi to this place which is Pachas Mikan. You're allowed. It's mutter. But if it's a karmelis, it's also, we know you're not allowed to carry from Rishus Rabbi to a karmelis. Not to carry from Rishus Rabbi to a karmelis, nor from a karmelis to Rishus Yachid, nor vice versa. So if that's the case, how can you say? Well, again, we have a difficulty in our Mishnah. What does it mean, Pachas Mikan? Is a karmelis? Pachas Mikan mean as a karmelis? You're not allowed to carry a karmelis either. So says the Gemara on Rabbi Yehuda said, "Mat Amar Chia Brei the Rab." That which Rabbi Chia Brei the Rab said, that the impediment Rishus Rabbi is a karmelis. Here's a big typo. The Gillian Hashatz points it out. Is minat sad. It's on the side of Rishus Rabbi. Avo ba'emtza, but if it's the middle of Rishus Rabbi batlos, Rishus Rabbi cancels it. That is a fascinating concept, which is brought down in the contemporary Ruf, that says that if you have, it's brought down in halacha, that if you have a karmelis in the middle of Rishus Rabbi, we say matzah min esmino. Matzah min esmino. What does matzah min esmino mean? Right, like subtract. There's no karmelis in the middle of Rishus Rabbi. There can only be a karmelis on the side of Rishus Rabbi. That's why it would be mutter to carry from the Rishus Rabbi to the karmelis. Of course, it's all Rabbanan, right? Because the right, so you're allowed to carry from a karmelis to Rishus Rabbi and vice versa. It's Rabbanan Rasid it. But in the karmelis in the middle of Rishus Rabbi, we'd say matzah min esmino. it's so similar. The Rabbanan just gave it a status of Rishus HaRabim. They gave it a status of Rishus HaRabim. In this case, it's a kula. Because in this case, it means then you can carry, as long as it's less than 4 amos, from the Rishus HaRabim into the Karmelis, from the Karmelis to Rishus HaRabim. And that's what our Mishnah means to say. Pachas mikan is mutter. If we said if it's 10 by 4 by 4, it's awesome. If it's less than that, it's mutter. So first we want to say, well, less than that is mutter because it's a mokum tur. But then we had a problem because it's Rav Chista's chiddush that a mokum tur you're allowed to carry into Rishus HaRabim and Rishus HaYachid and vice versa. It can't be our Mishnah because then Rav Chista has nothing to be mechadish. So now we come and we say, no, enochanami. It's about not only where it's less than 4 by 4, but it's also less than 10. If that's the case, it's a Karmelis. And a Karmelis is weiter, not mutter to carry to Rishus HaRabim. I thought we brought the Rav who said there is no Karmelis in Rishus middle of Rishus HaRabim. Why is that? Because the principle of Matzah Minas Mino, and that's you carry from the Rishus HaRabim to the Karmelis and vice versa. Okay? On Rabbi Yochanan, that's Rabbi Yochanan said, Leis kan poter elo mutter. You're allowed to carry from the Rishus HaRabim onto the stump. Okay. Now, once we brought down that this potter means mutter, we know there are a couple other places in Shas like that. We learned to Masechet Duyos. Hamapis Mursa b'Shabbos, to lance a blister on Shabbos. Im lasos lo peh, if you're doing it in order to make an opening, make a doorway, so to speak, to the blister. Chayev. Chayev chatas. Im loitzim menu lecha, if you're doing it in order to get out the moisture, get out the pus, potter, you're exempt. And that also, on Rabbi Yochanan, leis kan poter elo mutter. We just brought down the Babli as well. That you're allowed, l'chatchila, to go and lance your blister on Shabbos. Not just poter, avalosser, but it's mutter. Similarly, Talmudim we learned over there, Hatzad nachash b'Shabbos, somebody who runs down a snake on Shabbos, if you're cutting it down, in order that it shouldn't bite you, potter. If you're doing it for medicine, chayev. Rabbi Yochanan said, Leis kan poter elo mutter. When it says you're mutter to do it in order that it shouldn't bite you, when it says poter, it means mutter. You're allowed to do it either because of sakana, or because of malacha she'ein tzricha l'gufa, or because you're not doing it in order to capture it, but rather to remove the danger from you. So in any event, there it means mutter. We learned over there as well, and this is just brought down derech agav. It's totally irrelevant to our sugya. Falafasim aronios, a certain type of vessel, certain type of clay vessel or something like that. Shein Torah B'ol HaMeis, they're Torah if they are in the tent of a dead body. Utmeis Masazov, they're Tamei if a Zav carries them. It's not material to us. Now, I'm Rabbi Zira. Rabbi Zira says V'yos. Rabbi Yochanan said it's good. And I want you to know, all the Mefarshim, none of them understand this line. Let's go crazy over this line. What does it mean? So, needless to say, me being stubborn, and I didn't like Lieberman's pshat. He gives a pshat, but I didn't like it. I didn't like the Stipler's son's pshat either. So I sat and stared at this for a long time today, until I finally came up with something, and I think it's pretty good. Of course, I would think it's very good, right? Rabbi Zira said, "V'yos, I bring you internal raya that what Rabbi Yochanan said mutter is true." Now I'm going to make one girsa change here. It says im l'tzorech. You have to change that im lahotzi mutter. In other words, yos, that which Rabbi Yochanan said that im lahotzi, mean if your intent is get out the pus, that it's mutter, even though it says potter, then it means mutter. How can I prove that? Because if I understand that when it says to take out the pus, it means not just potter but mutter, then I understand why by a snake it says that if you're doing it for refuah, you're chayev. Now, what does it mean for refuah? It said by a snake, if you take it in refuah chayev, it means
taking out the poison to use it for like a
serum,
yeah.
Right? But it's strange, says the Rabbi Zira. This is my interpretation. It's strange, says Rabbi Zira. There are a whole bunch of other reasons you can want a snake and be chayev. For instance, snakeskin. It's a precious commodity, right? Who knows why you want to get the snake? Maybe you want the meat. Who knows why you want it?
Yeah, but it follows the sugya of taking out the pus for it.
That's what he's saying. He's saying, if you understand that the previous sugya said mutter, right? The previous sugya meant to say mutter, so that's why now we had to come and clarify. Don't think that there's a heter to do things for refuah. You might come to the conclusion, that's mutter. It must mean that anything done for the purpose of refuah is mutter on Shabbos. That's why we have to emphasize to you that here, even if you're doing it for refuah, it's chayev, right? Be careful. Don't think that refuah is a heter. But if before it was anyway just potter, but not actually mutter, the people are not going to make the mistake and think refuah is a heter. So therefore, why choose to highlight the concept of refuah here? Just say that if it's l'tzorech, it's also, no matter, it's l'tzorech, it's chayev, no matter what the tzorech is. So the emphasis on refuah here, says Rabbi Zira, is clearly to counterbalance the heter on refuah previously. Again, the heter was given before in L'hoti Mimena Leicha Mutter. So I might think any refuah on Shabbos, carte blanche to do whatever malach I want. That's why I have to emphasize that sometimes refuah is not just not mutter, it's chayev mamish. But if before it was anyway Potter aval not mutter, so then here there's no reason for the Mishnah to make this step of emphasizing that for Nachash refuah is chayev. Say any tzorech is chayev. So it must be that this is coming to counterbalance what it said previously.
Except the Gemara did distinguish between taking out the fluid of the blister,
yes,
just to remove the fluid, versus to remove it for a refuah. They said
no versus to take out the fluid versus to making a door.
Yeah, but you make.
But the hoti menelech is also as a refuah. That's also a refuah. It's just that if you're making a door out of it, then you're chayav because that we say is bona, right? But I might say that that's only if by the snake, as long as you're doing it for refuah, and you're not being bona, of course. It's a question of tzad. So then I might say it's mutter as well, right? Because who knows? That considered again. I'm lakshay tzich lagufa. That's really the heter. If you're doing it, they're taking out the pus. Lotzi imenu lecha. If you're making the opening or lotzi imenu lecha, the reason why it's mutter is because it's lakshay tzich lagufa. And Chazal didn't make a takona by lakshay tzich lagufa that it's also the makom tzar, where it's a makom refuah. So I might say that tzad also, if I'm doing it for some, if I'm capturing the animal for the purpose of refuah, it's mutter as well, right? That's why the Gemara emphasized that refuah is not carte blanche heter. But again, if before I would have just said patur, so then the Gemara then there's no room for the Mishnah to come along later and emphasize refuah. It should just say generically, whatever you're doing l'tzorech, as long as you're not doing it in order to fend off the snake, then it's chayev. But I think again that the purpose of refuah being stressed is to highlight the difference between this, which is chayev, and the previous case, which is mutter. Havei leiskam potter ela mutter. So it must be that the case of lahotzi mimeno lecha is mutter, and that's why later on the Mishnah had to counterbalance that by stressing that by a snake refuah is chayev, and that makes sense that why we chose refuah instead of saying for any tzorech. Okay, that's all I want to tie terms of Gemara. Believe me, after having seen all the other pshatim, I think this is the smoothest. It's still very rough because it doesn't flow well. It's not I don't know. By me, it's not a great proof. But all the other pshatim here seem very difficult. Okay, halacha gimel. Hazorik da'od amas b'kaisel. Somebody who throws 4 amas on a wall, l'malu me'asar tefachim, above 10 tefachim, kazorik ba'avir. It's as if he's throwing in the air. It's landing in a makam tur. It's adhering to the side of the wall. As I don't know if we'll get there tonight, but the Yerushalmi says the same thing the Bavli says. It's a dveila shmeina. Right? It's a fat date which sticks to the side of the wall. So it's laying in makam tur, you're potter. Lamati mesar tefachim, you throw it and it lands on the wall within 10 tefachim the ground, because it's as if it landed on the ground and you are chayav. The hazorik ba'aretz da'od amos. If you throw on the ground 4 amos, chayav. So if you threw something 4 amos away, hit the ground, when he's galg and then it rolled chutz l'da'od amos. Potter, because your original throwing was only up to within less than 4 amos. Whatever, vice versa, chutz l'da'od amos, you threw it beyond 4 amos, and he's galg l'toch d'a'od amos again, rolled back into d'a'od amos, then you're chayiv. Says Mar Masnisin Shein Sham Chor, our Mishnah where there's no hole in the wall. But if it went into a hole in the wall, so then it's machlokas harmeir v'chachamim. It's malos harmeir v'chachamim of chokim lahashlim. Remember the arch, whether we make an additional size in the arch. So koner harmeir, aldaiter harmeir, bein sheish ba'arba, bein she'en ba'arba, whether the hole is 4 tvachim or not. Ben sheyesh bo dalad dalad, ben she'en bo dalad dalad, rois l'kosel chugomim. We look at the hole as if it has a 4x4 hole at that level there, and therefore you threw from Rishus HaRabim, not onto a Mokum Tur, but onto a Rishus HaYachid. Because I look at it as if there's actually a platform there in the wall, just 4x4. Al Daitin Rabbanon, according to Rabbanon, you know what? Oh, no. According to me, we don't say Chokim Lashmin. Well, you do say chokim lahashlim, regardless if you see the kigomum. Al daitin rabbanim, they say ein chokim lahashlim, right? Im yesh bo arba ros koitz kigomum. If it's 4x4, then it's not that it is kigomum. It's as if it's kigomum, but it's a mamish gomum. In that case, you're chai because it landed on rishus hayachid. V'im la, but if not, if there isn't 4x4 there, einat ros koitz kigomum. You do not look at the wall as if it is. You don't say chokim lahashlim in the wall. But rather, the wall is regarded kisosum, and therefore you're exempt. So even though it landed in a small hole, it's still considered a mokum tur according to Rabbanan, unless there's actually a 4x4 tefach ledge above 10 tefachim there on the wall. All right, we'll stop here for tonight.